streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc. He's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Sean Thompson. And this is the Sean Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
Money, 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 money.
And when the
This country, the youngest and the richest, in spite of self-loathing Democrats and communists and socialists. This is the country that created every aspect of personal wealth because it's built on the property rights of the individual versus the property rights of the government. Now, it's taken 250 years, and a lot of it has been corrupted. Entire industries, like green energy, have been frauded, didn't exist, losing money. Smart people understood you can do two things. You can fade everything Jim Cramer says, and you'll be okay. Or you can call a fantastic investment advisor, somebody who can not only navigate corrupt economies, but structure your assets so that your kids get it, and not some illegal alien with a kilo of fentanyl in their purse gets it. My next guest is just that man. He is the founder and principal of Alpha Wealth Group. Tom Fortino, how are you, handsome?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm excited, and I'll tell you, it's fun to watch as we watch this new push by these neocon scum who support Hamas, and they pretend Trump's economy isn't doing well. But I understand, and I think you do as well, I know you do, that you have to re-privatize the economy. For decades, the economy has run on government agenda, government spending, government misappropriation, and government theft. $16 trillion, we now know, has been spent in the green agenda since 2010. $16 trillion, an unfathomable amount. But if we're going to regain any principle of our country, we have to end that and thread the needle to re-incentivize private companies and companies outside of government to grow, don't we?
Yeah, I think we're seeing that happen, and there's a lot of things happening. I mean, you talk about the green energy. I think Honda just came out and said, I think their write-off was $9.5 billion. Of course, General Motors and Ford, I think Ford was $17 billion. I mean, these numbers are staggering. What it costs. I mean, you talk about wasted wealth, but those are the numbers, and you go down the line. It's just crazy.
Well, what's also crazy, Tom, and I've seen it. I remember reading about Joe Kennedy, and they said, Joe, how come you never lost any money in the crash? And he said, well, the guy shining my shoes was talking to me about the stock market. And once people lose appreciation of what's involved in success, once people lose the understanding of what money is, when you talk about $1 trillion. It's a staggering amount. $1 billion is $1,000 million. I mean, it's just, it's amazing how adaptable Americans have become in massive losses that really are the result of government regulation and policy. This, to me, is the first thing we have to fix. But you can't fix any of it if you don't fix and stabilize your own most important product in the world, as I see it, bar none, is oil. And what Donald Trump has done, what Chris Wright has done, what Scott Besson has done, is really set the trajectory to where it could be massive growth for the private American and success, isn't it?
I agree completely with that. What they're doing things that I think many people are unaware of. I mean, besides just they're going to stabilize, and I think ultimately this crisis that we're talking about, so-called crisis, it's going to stabilize the entire market in the entire Middle East. And beyond that, and the whole energy, which we're realizing, whether it's AI, data centers, driving our economy, I mean, that's the lifeblood, period. On top of that, you're looking at the first graphite manufacturing plant back up and running, the first in 50 years, I'm sure you've talked about, first refinery being built in Texas. It is insanity what we've been going through for decades. And now all of a sudden, you've got Scott Besson, I think it was a few months ago, held up the first rare earth or magnet built in the United States. They're doing tons of mining. You look at these companies and what's happening. I mean, it's exciting, but of course, a lot of it is overshadowed if you're listening to the regular media. And, it's just, and I think you made the comment earlier, this self-correction, the distortions that they've created in this market, there's going to be this pain as we try to turn this big ship. But I think the future, as you're saying, I think it's going to be pretty incredible.
Sure, because the fundamentals, the regulations have all been stripped away. And, we get people that are naysayers, right? And they say, well, Trump tapped the strategic reserves. The idea that we even call it strategic reserves, when you realize what Joe Biden did to it, he didn't even fill it. The first thing Trump does in the first year is he starts to drive down the price of oil. He adds to it. And he takes out now, during this conflict of Iran, 172 million barrels from the strategic reserve. It's a net profit because he bought it lower than what it is, right? So you could argue of the arbitrage. But what he did it for is because he knew the self-loathing nature of Iran, as they are intentionally trying to disrupt the world economy by bombing not just their own oil fields, but their fellow Muslim country neighbor oil field. In essence, what they're trying to do is make everything California, where the prices are parabolic to where they could be. So I think this is but a step in time. And I love when all of the prognosticators of doom and failure say that oil was going to be $150. So how many calls did you sell? How many puts did you buy? And did you structure it so that the government, who views your money as their revenue, can't get it?
Yeah, I mean, the way to look at this, this is a crisis. We come at these, you hear all these crazy people saying all these crazy things. I mean, I sent out in my newsletter, I looked at the 9. Now, while no one event is the same, or 2 events, I should say, I went all the way back to the Korean War, Cuban Missile Crisis, hostage crisis, Afghan War, Iraq War. Do you know, in 9 different examples, within 200, I looked at 21 days, 63 days, 126 days later, 250 days later, the market was up on average, in some cases double digits. Half a year later, it was up 13%. So, we saw, the market's been kind of moving sideways since October. But if you take a look at what happened just that one day, they mentioned it was a mistake about, the tanker came through the Strait and was guided by, right? And so they took it back. Well, you saw oil go from down to under $90 a barrel like that. So you just have to be very cautious in this market. And that's what you're going to see, because I got to tell you what, my money's on the Israelis and the Americans. Okay?
Oh, yeah. Well, of course.
All day.
Well, the other thing, too, is that when you look at the companies that make up the oil business, they're the barometer, as I see it. They don't really move because they know that what you have is a commodity fluctuation based on fear and misinformation and sometimes rumor. But the overarching point of where oil can be, it's a funny thing to realize, for the first time since the last time Trump was in office, we're a net exporter of energy. And right there, I'm going to tell you right now, what I would do is I'd be a real jerk. I would be an absolute jerk. I would shut everything down. Now we're going to do energy austerity. I would cripple everybody around the planet. I would, make American energy the cheapest, but you can't really do that in the complexity of what the market is. So we are once again trying to stabilize among people who are trying to destroy. And it kind of reminds me of all the things that we need to continue to do. And when you look at the massive drivers of failure in our economy, it's all government policy. The healthcare system, you look at the healthcare system, the cost, the insurance, all, as I believe, orchestrated to be that, as they vertically integrate everything, as the insurance companies now own all the production of medication and health and the psycho drugs and all the rest of it. So I do think it's going to take years and years and years. But one of the things I love about the stock market is people still don't understand. You can offset all of that because every stock is merely a currency of those companies. If you are strategic in your industry, you can offset any destruction to your money, your dollar. It took me a long time to learn this. I spent the first half of my life in the commodity business. You know what I mean? I was in social clubs gambling or in heavenly bodies. And with the rest of the money, I just blew it. If I would have talked to Tom Fortino when I was young, I could really have a lot of money today, couldn't I?
Well, I think you did okay, Sean.
Oh, thank you. So people need to focus on this when you're young. You need to focus on putting your money away and offsetting the dollar you lose, even if you don't think you can. If it's any amount of money and it's structured to where you're taking advantage and you have a little higher risk tolerance, you could play in the commodity business. You could play in the oil option market. You could play in the gold market. And the way in which they've structured it now, I love the idea that even though things are very expensive, you can leg into it. You don't need $5,500 to buy an ounce of gold. You can start to buy smaller things. So people need to focus on the fact of what they could set up for their own future, don't they?
Yeah, you need to be cautious on some of these things. Now, look, if you want to buy an index, it's the old, instead of looking for the needle in the haystack, buy the haystack. And if you're not going to be watching it every day and really learning, how to do the analysis, technical and fundamental, okay, you buy the indexes. And, of course, as you know, Sean, we talk about buying them in Roth and tax-free, especially if you're young, get the money growing. But right now with these exchange-traded funds, you want to short a stock, not suggesting you do it. SQQ, that's an inverse of the NASDAQ. You want to double leverage a stock, you can do it. You can do it with ETFs that trade like stocks. So it's a lot easier today to do that just buying an ETF. There's so many out there that allow you to either short stocks or leverage stocks or buy commodities, or they've made it a lot simpler, and you can do it. I have to be careful with this, but you can do it on your phone if you want, right? So it's all there at your fingertips, but just be careful is all I would say. But yeah, to your point, it's all there for you.
And now, one of the first interviews we had was I'll never forget it, when you let everybody know, and I didn't know this. I'm ashamed of myself. I didn't know this. I didn't realize you could take real estate investments and hold it in a Roth IRA. I had no idea you could do that. Normally, the old way was you put an LLC or you put a trust in, but this way you can actually hold stuff in your retirement that's even real estate, and there's a tremendous advantage to doing that, right? You get to leave it to your kids, and it gets to go directly to them, especially if you structure it in a certain way where you don't have to go to these court systems in these Democrat areas. Because one of the things I think is an expose waiting to happen is the probate court system in Crook County. I think that would be staggering. But if you do things smart, you circumvent a lot of this, and people need to be aware of that, especially when, the classic way, and what my business is real estate. But I'm going to take advantage of having you here. When you look, and I never thought I would see this, even though I predicted what would happen in Chicago. When you look at what happened at that 175 West Jackson in Chicago, that was an 87% loss from the $306 million that it sold for. So, I mean, that's unheard of. That's Depression era collapse of real estate in the loop of Chicago. I mean, are you sometimes in awe of the lack of attention these losses get in these Democrat strongholds like Chicago or New York? I mean, some of the stuff is quite unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, and let's not, obviously we can get into the whole finances behind all of this stuff. Besides, unfortunately, their pension systems, all of the things that they've sold off, the assets. I mean, Chicago, obviously we know, and I'm sure you've talked about, is incredibly dire straits. The problem is they also impact the privately held businesses, because if I own a business or I own an office building or a complex, they shut the city down. They do these things. I've got financing on it. And now all of a sudden I'm being damaged because of the malfeasance of, they're like locusts through a cornfield.
Well,
I mean, they just damage everything.
And the other thing too, when you're used to looking at valuations of companies or looking at kind of predicting where the future would be, and you look at the fraud in which these government budgets are passed, and you see these people come out and they say, "We've got to once again, I balanced the budget," and you just look at the raw numbers. You're talking about J.B. Pritzker has tripled Illinois debt when you factor in the right math, the obligations and all the nonsense, and then if you inflationally adjust it, you're clearly 300%. It's the same thing in California, and it's the same thing in all of these enclaves. Yet these are the people who apparently have the upper echelon attention in the DNC. So if these people should advance to bigger office, if they should pull a Joe Biden again in 2020, you've got to structure yourself and be nimble with investments to offset some of that. Because the reality is, if you position the country to fail, but other assets to go up under Biden years, you survived Bidenomics, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Sometimes you have to be. It's like people didn't expect certain industries. Now we're seeing the flip side, but the healthcare system, as Trump has explained. You bought United Health, you bought any of these healthcare providers, and some of the pharmaceuticals, they did tremendous amounts of business when Obamacare came in because they were subsidizing the premiums and everybody was getting paid and all this money was flowing into it. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate to what they did. Now, could you make money? Yeah, you could. You could have owned those stocks or owned those industries. So you have to be really kind of things that you may think contrary. It's like Biden. The oil companies did well for a while there because he was shutting everything down. They were making money.
Right.
Drove the price of
and
so
the green energy.
Counter. You just have, yeah.
You know what I love about oil, and this is what people don't understand. First of all, it's everything. Oil is everything. It is the common denominator of everything. So ironically, as they shut the regulations down and they make it tighter and tighter for our oil companies to produce and offer it to the consumer, yeah, your gas prices go up, but so do the prices of all the alternatives. When people realize how much fracking oil is in a windmill, the oil companies got to be loving this, which is why I think they finance the eco agenda. But they make more money on the bull dung that doesn't work than they make on the gas in your car. So this is the part where if you're dealing with somebody who understands that, you're always positioned right, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's always opportunities, and you're looking in the sectors. We do some sector strategies, and there's opportunities there. Energy is an opportunity right now, and there's certain companies you can buy, the individual companies. You've seen what's happened with Constellation and Vistra and all these other companies. There's other smaller companies, and we get into nuclear. Energy is going to be driving. Look, these data centers, the amount of energy they're going to need and just the entire economy. So I think there's opportunity there. There's ETFs. XLE is the energy ETF. I think it's up close to 30% year to date. I might be off a little bit on that. But I think that's still going to continue to go. And I think there's a lot of opportunities in this economy still on some of these stocks that have been beat up. And so, there's things that we can do right now.
You're talking to the guy, and I have witnesses out there somewhere. I'm the one that made Greenspan cut the rates when there was no meeting. If you remember that in the 90s, that was me. And I'll tell you how I did it. I went to very specific people, Goldman Sachs and the other thing. I said, boy, I'm hearing he's going to cut the rate. Cut the rate? What are you talking about? There's not even a meeting. Cut the rate. Sure enough, 5 hours later, cut the rate. So you ready for me to do it again? Because I've been looking at something. Yeah. These data centers, I'm going to tell you right now, all these data centers, they're obsolete. Completely and totally obsolete for two reasons. Quantum computing crushes the data that they are now storing to 1/10 of its size. To 1/10! Think about that. And you've got Musk, the mad genius with the favorite name of a disease. My favorite disease is Tourette's, especially on a plane. But Asperger's is my favorite name of any disease. I love it. He can't help it. He's going to succeed. He's going to say what he's going to do, and he's going to do it in a very awkward speech pattern. And what he's done is take this new version of a data center, and he put it in outer space where he has more satellites than all the countries combined. And now it's up there being energized by his own Tesla solar because there's no atmosphere. You got the sun, constant and forever. That's how data needs to be stored. And what they're doing right now, all these meetings that are driving all these people that are going to take out 600 acres, I say it's all bull dung. How do I short it? Come on, Mortimer, you turn these computers on. I want to sell.
Well, that time may come. I would definitely say, yes, I would never bet against Elon Musk, and I would buy Tesla now. I mean, he still hasn't come out with his robots. He's doing his functional or his fully automated driving system. So,
yeah, I want to completely cancel all my health care. I don't want any of it. I don't want any Social Security. I just want one of those Tesla slaves to take care of me as I get old. And I hear they're working on one with cleavage, which will make the stock really rally. What do you think?
Well, I can't comment on that.
No. We got licenses and all kinds of laws. Tom Fortino, Alpha Wealth Group. On the Saturday mornings, do you have this much fun, or is it just my interviews?
I do not have this much fun, so sometime I'll have to have you come on and try to just amp things up a little bit.
Absolutely. AlphaWealthGroup.com is where you can see everything. Why don't you give out the number? I don't have it in front of me, and I forgot to memorize it. I got the Heavenly Bodies number, though, if you want it. But go ahead.
630-864-6711. 630-864-6711.
Tom, thanks so much for making time for me. I really enjoy our conversations. You too. I can't wait for lunch again.
It.
Take care.
All right, we'll talk soon. Bye.
We'll be back with your calls and comments.
Broadcasting from the petri dish of corruption known as the state of Illinois.
In the upper Midwest, the nation, and around the world.
This is the Sean Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.